Coming up this week, a puzzling query about Google that you can't Google, how to cook orange chips, and Donald Trump's wand. But first, I got a headache, a coffee-related headache, and I try to recall the name of the second best Star Wars film. Elbeer, Battersea.
Hi.
Elbeer.
Nick, you want to get rid of your headaches?
Yes.
Okay. You have to take 500 milligrams of magnesium every night.
500 pills?
No.
Do I have to? 500?
500 milligrams.
500
mg.
pills. Yeah.
No. mg. Milligrams of magnesium.
Right.
Every night.
That sounds like a really bad idea. I mean,
No.
Well,
It's not a bad idea because I cure myself with the magnesium.
Right.
Okay?
It's giving you an accent. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I got many accents.
It's a side effect.
The side effect are my accents.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huh.
Well,
Oh, is that it? Am I going to do it? No, absolutely not. I'm perfectly fine.
No, you have to.
Well, I'm not going to.
No, you have to.
Well, furthermore,
why?
no.
Why you have to torture yourself with the headaches? I'm telling you what to do, and then that's it.
Well,
Nick.
all I have to do to remove the headache from accidentally taking decaffeinated coffee is to...
No. Forget about the caffeine or or coffee. No. You have to take it, and then that's it.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm definitely not going to do that.
You have to.
I don't think that's true. No.
I'm telling you now.
Well, okay. But,
okay.
All right. Then.
Nick.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thanks
Bye.
a lot, Elvira. Cheers, my dear. Don't take 500 pills of anything without contacting a trained professional. I mean, not necessarily a medical professional, but, like your plumber. Ask him what he thinks. Or her. Sexist. Sash in Kent says, I think you're thinking of Rogue One. Yes, I am.
Affirmative.
Rogue One, which was a prequel to A New Hope. Was it? I don't think it really matters whether it was a prequel or a sequel or what. It was a side shoot. It was very good. Martin says, Rogue One, Clone Wars was a separate TV show. Are they on TV now? There's a Star Wars TV program. Really? God, they really are squeezing that franchise dry, aren't they? The Disney people. Clone Wars was a separate TV show. Attack of the Clones was episode 2. Right, Attack of the Clones. And this says, the Star Wars flick you're thinking of says, you can't beat the original Star Wars from 1977. I remember seeing it at the Streatham Odeon, spelled Odion. It cheapened the trilogy when they introduced Skoda into the storyline. Skoda. When you watch them again, as I have done just recently, the third one, which is episode 6, is unwatchable. It's Muppets in space. It's just painful on the eye. I can't stand it. But the first two, which was 4 and 5, they are excellent. But boy, do they look cheap. I mean, the first one particularly looks so cheap. They spent absolutely no money on it at all. But they didn't realise they were sitting on a £1 billion franchise back then. Yeah, they spent a lot of money on the subsequent ones, but the first one, which was just a cowboy movie in space, it was tremendous. I think they did it for threepence halfpenny, which was the currency back then. Robert in Dumfriesshire says, when we get our Scottish independence, will you set up a Scottish LBC station and be on it for 24 hours a day? That'd be nice. You're welcome up here, says Robert in Dumfriesshire. We've got a Scottish LBC station. It's this one. We're here, there, and everywhere, baby. We're worldwide. We are universal. And it doesn't get bigger than that. Here's a weird question that somebody stumped me with, followed by a worrying prediction. Cumbria, Vishal.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I wanted to know, if what you would think the world would be like if Google Street View was live stream.
The streets would be full of people pouting at passing cars.
Don't you think it would be an expansion to the internet?
An expansion to the internet? What does that mean?
Expansion to the internet.
Ah, well, you should have said that. Okay, thanks a lot, Vishal. See, now that's a perfect example of clarity. He said, would it mean the expansion of the internet? And I said, what does expansion of the internet means? And the answer was, of course, expansion of the internet. I feel stupid for having asked the question in the first place. Good work, Vishal. Keep thinking. Beverly in East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Would you agree that Boris Johnson is self-serving, narcissistic, a good orator, and only looking to serve his own ends?
Yes.
You would? Okay. Well, if you look in history at people who've done this,
Hitler.
Well, you said that. That was my last one. You stole my thing.
Okay, then, right.
He was going to be the last person I was going to mention.
Yeah.
But when you look through history, when people have actually used that sort of tactic to get through things,
Yeah, Hitler.
in most recent history, you look at Berlusconi in Italy.
Right.
He was kicking around for 20 years. Italy is an industrialised, modern, if you like, European nation.
Well, kind of.
He's dragged them to the feet, but if you look around the world, you look at Mao Zedong, every Soviet leader since Lenin, Mugabe, Idi Amin,
and
Gaddafi, all the rest of them, the population of the people who've suffered, okay, they may have ended up really suffering themselves, but the populations are the ones that have suffered. Why are we tolerating Boris Johnson as our leader?
Because the trains may run on time? Thanks for the question, Mike. There you go, Boris. Hitler.
Here we go. Okay.
No, as long as you don't say anything controversial. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Sunita says, what's threepence? Don't know if I've spelled it right, but my phone didn't recognise it. Yes, you have spelled it right, which rather implies that you do know what it means. I think you're disseminating misinformation in order to make yourself seem younger. A threepenny bit was my favourite coin. It was, well, no, that's the sixpence was my favourite coin. It was just so perfectly formed, very, very small, small enough to slip through the hole in the pocket of your trousers. People don't have holes in the pockets of their trousers anymore because people don't carry change around. I don't even leave the house with any money anymore. It doesn't even occur to me to leave the house with money, which is probably a big mistake, huge, because when the internet goes off the air, that's not an accurate way of saying it, but when the internet falls flat on its face, then money will come into its own. Boy, will we miss it when it's gone. It's bound to fall off the grid at some point, the internet. I mean, it's worked perfectly up to now, more or less. Have you seen the internet?
Disgusting.
When it breaks, there's going to be riots in the streets in about 10 seconds. Nobody will be able to find their way home, for a start, without your sat-nav. No one will have any idea where they are. You won't be able to pay for anything. You won't be able to upload pictures of yourself to the World Wide Web or send images of what you've just eaten to people who don't care, looking for likes. What will you do when you don't get likes? God, people are going to lose their minds. I'm amazed it's worked perfectly up to now, aren't you? I mean, nothing else does. Electricity goes off every now and again. Sometimes the gas will break because there's a puncture in the line in the road. Some bloke will come or woman. No, it's never a woman. It's always a bloke will come and turn it off. So everything, your satellite signal will disappear in stormy weather. Everything breaks except the internet. Isn't that remarkable? It's bound to break at some point. And then what? Yeah, and then what? Coming up, the one thing I always forget to do when watching a Star Wars film. Finally, this important call in Walthamstow. Musa.
Oh, morning, Nick.
Musa.
Yes, well, not quite. I'm behind you.
I mean, I'm just in Leicester Square, driving my Sherbet.
Okay.
Yeah, that Star Wars thing that you was talking about a little while back. Well, when all of the Star Wars films start, they have that write-up at the beginning, don't they? Exactly. That drifts off into the into the hereafter, like, and fades away. And it says at the beginning, Episode 4, A New Hope, and then it tells you that Princess Leia was blah, blah, blah.
Well, don't tell us.
Oh, sorry. Spoiler alert. Yeah.
I always forget to read that thing. Am I the only one? Like, I sit there being pressed back into my seat with that fantastic music, and it's gone into the distance and it's too small to read before I start reading it.
I tried to read it all and see how far I can still keep reading, like an eye test.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? You keep reading it all the way till it disappears. But, like, yeah, that's what, after every one of the Star Wars films started off with that one. So I'll be interested to see what the new one does in December.
It'll do the exact same thing. It has to.
Yeah, they're milking it like a cow. But I'm addicted to milk. What can I tell you?
Well, me too. Yeah, especially the chocolate flavoured type. All right, thanks a lot, Musa. I never get my head together to start reading those words before they've gone too far. And I think, oh, wait a minute, rewind, but you can't. You're sitting in a cinema. Another excellent reason not to go to the cinema. Now, a chap called up to lavish praise on the NHS, and I agreed, but with some reservations. So I think there's a lot that's wrong with the NHS, and there's a lot that can be improved by looking at what other countries do, but absolutely, definitely not, written in red and underlined, what America does. But there's other countries in Europe, our close personal... You remember Europe, don't you? Yes, that's them. Our close personal friends in Europe, they do the health system better than we do. Or at least it doesn't cost them more, and they get a better result out of it. They just don't have this, everything's free at the point of use. And when everything is free at the point of use, then you must have experienced some of this yourself. Unless you're dying, unless you're an absolute emergency, in which case you should present yourself to the NHS immediately, and they'll be excellent, I'm sure. When you have something that's niggling, one of those things that just ruins your life, then because it's free, you get treated not as a customer or a client. You often get treated as an irritation. Why are you clogging up my waiting room? They think. That's why you get an appointment, you sit down on one of them plastic chairs and you wait for 3 hours for somebody to see you, because you're just an irritation, as opposed to a customer. I mean, if you've ever been treated as a private patient, it's a completely different experience. The doctor will walk out of... Instead of your name just flashing up on a TV screen, in between adverts to stop drinking so much, and then you have to make your way to, surgery number 11 or wherever that is, down a corridor and up a lift and, down a slide. It's in a hut outside in the orange zone. But there isn't any of that. You sit in a comfortable waiting room and you help yourself to a coffee and a magazine that was actually printed this year. Can you believe that?
No.
And the doctor will come out and shake your hand and lead you into his or her suite. And you won't get 10 rushed minutes, during which time the doctor takes a phone call from somebody else. This has happened to me today. I went in there and so her phone rang. To be fair, I only waited about 20 minutes past my appointment time, so that's pretty good going. And then her phone rang, and then she got up and left the room for like 10 minutes. And then came back and wouldn't sit down as though to make me aware that it was time for me to go. I'd seen her for about 2 seconds. And that you do not get when people are actually contributing some money at the point of purchase. When everything is free, then you get treated as though you have paid nothing, but you have actually paid a lot. So anyway, I went out with this. I had jaw ache. My jaw hurts.
Stop whining.
I thought it was a toothache. My tooth hurt. You know what time? Hey, guess what time my appointment was?
What time?
My dental appointment. Guess what time it was?
Today?
Yes.
6 p.m.
Oh, come on. No, 2:30. So apparently it's not a tooth. I thought I had chronic toothache. It's been pain. Ow, ow.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
So they gave me these things. The woman said, "Oh, it's not toothache. It's a sinus problem. I got a sinus problem by dose." And so they gave me pills, and this is the possible side effects of these pills. You ready? Skin itching or rash or swelling of the face, lips, tongue, body, or breathing difficulties. Oh, breathing difficulties. Well, that's okay. I'm not that attached to breathing anyway. I can do without it, frankly. Inflammation of the blood vessel walls. Rashes, fever, joint pains, enlargement of the lymph nodes. Itchy reddish purple patches on the skin, especially on the palms of the hands or soles of the feet. Blistering pustules, peeling redness, pain, itching and scaling. Fevers, headaches and body aches. A sore throat. Fever, chills, headache, muscle pain and skin rash. Diarrhea. Severe diarrhea. Blisters, redness or bruising of the skin. Darker urine or paler stools. Yellowing of the skin or the whites of the eyes. Feeling sick. Nausea. I'm feeling sick just reading this. Being sick. Tooth discoloration. Thrush. Kidney problems. Fits. Hyperactivity. Crystals in the urine.
Groovy.
Hey, I'm going to get crystals in my urine. The tongue may change to yellow, brown or black, and it may have a hairy appearance. Plus, tiredness, headaches, shortness of breath, dizziness, looking pale, yellowing of the skin, heart attack and death. Take 3 daily until you expire or run out of pills, whichever comes first. They talk about we can't legalise marijuana because it's bad for you.
Want to score some pot?
I got that in Boots. Coming up, a weird chip recipe and what impatience gets you. And fry again. I first experienced them in Walsall, where the local Greek batter and fry again. What do you want to do that for? Is that double fried chips? And then just the word orange. What does that mean?
So that's to turn them orange, apparently.
How does that turn them orange?
I'm not a fish and chip expert.
Right, okay, well, it's a good job that you intervened. Thank you for your interjection. As long as you're not in possession of any facts or information, then you're welcome on this show. Let's have Leeds. Oh, God, that's so annoying. And my phone does this to me as well. You'll tap something and nothing happens. And so you tap it again, and a millisecond before you do the second tap, it does what you initially wanted it to do. And so then it undoes it. It's the waiting part that's the hardest bit, ain't it? You know, we used to have to get on our hat, coat, scarf and gloves and go walk to the end of the road and wait for the bus, and we never knew whether the bus was going to come or not because the timetable, the thing that told us when the bus would come, is this faded piece of crumpled paper behind glass on the bus stop. And so we just wait in expectation of being relieved of standing in the rain. And then if it did arrive, then you go down to the library and realise that it's a Wednesday and it's shut on Wednesdays. So you go back home and you take off your hat, coat, scarf and gloves and you go out the next day and put on your hat, coat, scarf and gloves and go through that entire excruciating experience again just to look something up. 2 days it would take you to look something up. Now, if it takes 2 seconds, we're pulling our hair out and screaming at our devices. So, yeah, just hit the phone and just wait a second. The absolute worst for that is the British Rails app. Whoever's over there who organised that app, I don't mean for this to sound insulting, but you're a moron. Have you tried your own blooming app? That happens every time. The train, I mean, you hit the phone and just wait a second. The absolute worst for that is the British Rails app. Whoever's over there who organised that app, I don't mean for this to sound insulting, but you're a moron. Have you tried your own blooming app? That happens every time. The train, I mean, you're on platform 3 and you've got no idea what platform your train's coming on. It could be platform 15. And you've got 2 minutes to go before it gets there. And so you're frantically stabbing at your phone and it pulls up your train and you stab your train and then an advert loads and it moves it on your screen. Not that I'm complaining or anything.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
You know me, I never complain. Seriously, when have you ever heard me complain? Now, it seems like I may have missed a couple of side effects of those pills that I was taking, and this chap called in to correct me. Leeds, Sanjeep.
Hi.
Sanjeep.
I have 3 points to make.
Well, let's see how the first one goes. Go ahead.
First one, actually, I just wanted to confirm whether your appointment was at 2:30 or 2:30.
Right. What's the second one?
The second one is actually you missed 2 side effects. One was actually toothache, and the other one was sinus problems.
Well, I've got pills to solve either a toothache or a sinus problem, and the very same pills may cause toothache and a sinus problem. That's
right.
That's actually true.
What you missed.
Yeah.
And third thing, actually, if you had gone to see the GP with this problem, he would have sent you to see the dentist. And the dentist would have sent you to
see the
go
GP.
and see back the GP.
Yeah, exactly.
So you did the right thing, spent some money, and went to the right person first, thinking it may be a
My
dental
tooth.
problem.
Yeah.
So you saved a lot of money to NHS and for yourself as well.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, thanks a lot, Sanjeev. Paul in Lower Boddington said, Jimmy says you should open a fundraising thing to raise money for LBC so they can buy you a new screen that actually works. I'll chip in a tenner. Just send me your money directly to me, personally, in cash. Yes, that way we'll cut out the middleman. It's more efficient. Now, if you cast your mind back to last November, there was something of a love-in between the screaming Mimi in the White House and our own Uncle Nige, when Donny said something that puzzled a few people, even more than he normally puzzles people. And that is followed by the worst breakfast in the world. Stephen Upminster says, Nick, what on earth did Ancient Orange mean when he said, I have a magic wand with the EU. I know you have one, Nigel. Is the magic wand a euphemism for Vlad the Insaner? Maybe, says Steve. What did that actually happen? Hey,
I'm not.
Oh, he's too busy. Too busy to engage. I don't know. I have a magic wand in the EU. What does that mean? What on earth does that mean, Donny? Mike says, my next-door neighbour asked me permission to build a wall between our two gardens. If it's any good, maybe he can offer to help Donny. Yeah, his wall is still not being built, despite the fact that he says it is over and over again.
I'm building a wall, okay? I'm building a wall. I'm building a wall, okay? I'm building a wall.
Yeah, you're not building a wall, Donny. You're lying about that just like everything else. He's replacing some fence that already existed. And besides, a wall wouldn't make any difference to the levels of immigration at all. Because you know what you can do when you're faced with a wall?
If there's a concrete wall in front of you, go through it, go over it, go around it, but get to the other side of that wall.
This says magic wand was what Trump said, huh?
Oh, that's, yeah. Were you confused about the phrase magic wand?
Yeah.
Trump used it and it said that Farage has got a magic wand like him.
Hey, that's too much information, Donny.
Disgusting.
Can you clip that out? And I will be using that frequently. What does that mean? He's got a magic wand. What did he mean by that? We don't know. We got no idea. Yeah, we're thinking. We're thinking the worst, frankly. Magic, not Magic's Wand, because that was a song by Houdini.
Rock and roll!
There you go. See, that's an up-to-date reference. I'm hip. I'm with it. This says, EU is hurting your country. Trump says he will use his magic wand to get deals done. Yeah, that's not what you use your magic wand for, Donny. You hear that, Melania? He's using his magic wand on the EU.
I don't care.
I always thought you had a bit of a magic wand too, Trump said to Farage. Wow. I mean, there's been a lot of headlines generated by that interchange between the two of them. It has been top of the news. Regardless of where you get your news, it's been number one. But this is all news to me. This is new news to me about their wand. Not wind.
I know a lot about wind.
Yeah, not wind, wand. And this says, I used to live next door to a late-night Mexican takeaway. I suffered a never-ending slurry of waste packaging, half-eaten burritos and refried beans in my front garden every night. Growing tired of this after several years, I seriously considered building a wall. It would have been a tremendous wall. Nobody builds walls like me. I did manage to partially complete something more like a fence, but I was thwarted by red tape and public opinion, finally abandoning the plan when my Mexican neighbours refused to contribute. Feeling like something of a laughingstock, I eventually moved away, never to be heard from again. There's always hope. That's an excellent story. What do you think, Donny?
Oh, shut up!
Exactly. Refried beans. I never really understood that. The worst breakfast I ever had in my life was in New Mexico. Just shy of the border going into Mexico itself. In America, I got up at like 6, maybe sort of 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to avoid paying to stay in the campsite that I had crept into in that tiny little car I was delivering from New York down to Arizona. This horrible little car that I was delivering for this horrible little girl who had rich parents who lived in New York. And so she had a pauper like me deliver her car over, like 2,000 miles while she flew. It was a terrible journey. In August, in a car with no air conditioning, in a seat that it felt like that somebody had taken it and just twisted it so that you couldn't sit straight in the seat. You were sort of at an angle. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, and so I didn't have any money, and I was being paid sort of like $40 or something to deliver her car. Having to a timetable, I had to drive 500 miles a day. And because I didn't have any money or anywhere, I couldn't afford, even to go to a cheap roadside motel. So I used to creep into campsites late at night and sleep literally on the ground next to my car, surrounded by these Americans with these vast motorhomes, which was like, the size of hotels. And they'd stake out their territory and they'd put coloured lights out and you could hear the air conditioning going and the TVs and the walk-in showers and all of the rest of it. And I was lying on the ground next to my car and sleeping on the ground. And I thought, the hell with this. I'm not paying for this. And so I used to get up really, really early, just as the sun is rising, and creep slowly out before anybody got up and, took the appropriate action. And so I came at about 6 o'clock in the morning. The first thing I passed in New Mexico was a Mexican eatery. And they were doing breakfast.
Oh, no.
A Mexican breakfast. It was awful. I mean, just beyond. How can anybody start the day that way? Start the day with chilly, hot, refried beans. Just the thought of it. No wonder they're killing each other. And that's it. If you like this, then you'll probably like the other podcasts that I do. There's The Whole Show, which is, as it sounds, it's the whole show that I do on Friday and Saturday night, with the ads and the news taken out. And you'll find that where you got this podcast. And also there's the podcast that I'm doing with Carol McGiffin.
Oh, right, yeah.
I think you'll find it amusing.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? And you'll find that where you got this podcast.